at Women's TV. I am so excited because I have in front of me the lovely Miss Florence Callender. Dr. Callender is one of the people who impressed me so much with her work, because her work is the kind of work that will transform society. She works with women and children. Her theme is retraining the brain
transforming lives.
And transforming lives. Retraining brains and transforming lives. You had to help me a little bit with that. But we've been helping each other quite a bit as we've gone on this journey. I've known Ms. Callender for a few years, and I've seen her work, and I am so impressed because she helps the entire educational system to understand that children with dyslexia, such as that I have myself, are not just dumb children, they are just children who learn differently. So she told me that this morning when we were in the car, and I was going like, yes, I just learned differently. She gave me a feeling of importance. Dr. Callender, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Well, first let me say thank you so much for having me here. It's quite a pleasure and a privilege. My journey to this point today has been quite a circuitous one. I started off as a teenager teaching high school, the same high school that I attended, but I hated it, and I quit that job. But my training was in education, so I had to take a little while to transition to something else. I went to school, traveled across the world from the little Caribbean island that I was from to California, and studied to become a fashion designer. After graduating, I moved to New York, but the world of the dog eat dog was too much for me also. So I quit that too. Went back into the educational field. However, this time I studied speech and language pathology. So I went back with a different outlook and focusing on a different population. Like in children, I remained within the school setting so that I can work with children and help them to become the best that they can be. And so I've come to this point, moving from just helping regular children to helping the children who have difficulty in speaking, difficulty in thinking, difficulty in learning, become the best that they can be and reach their full potential.
Well, that is so exciting. I understand that you give workshops and you give consultations and you're an author. And I happen to have 3 of your books right here. One is Living in Abundance. I think that is such a great title, Living in Abundance. Because sometimes in our lives we don't live in abundance. We settle for less. So how did you come up with this title, and how did living in abundance affect you and your own personal journey?
Well, the book is actually a collaborative effort. There are some well-known authors and names in there, like Dwayne Dwyer. He's in there. And what happened is around the year 2007, as I was moving towards actualizing myself and becoming who I am today, I came into a group of people, and we decided to write a chapter each in the book. And my chapter is actually entitled From Limitations to Possibilities.
Wow,
and
I like that.
I looked at how the limited way in which I was thinking growing up kept me in a place of dissatisfaction. And once I changed that outlook and looked at the possibilities instead and worked with my abilities, then things changed, and I saw it in my life.
And the second book that I have in front of me is called Finding the Courage Within You. Finding the courage within you. Is courage hidden someplace in some deep, dark place within us?
Many times it is. Sometimes you don't even know that you have the courage to do certain things and to achieve certain goals until you actually begin to work at it and try. And this book came out of another collaborative effort where I attended a business training, and 9 of us got together and decided to write a bit of our stories. And my chapter in that book is called By Design or By Default. Because I realize many of us live our lives by default, but we should really be conscious of what we are doing, when we are doing it, and plan our lives so that we can live by design.
And the next one is something that we can't do without. Breathe.
Yes.
Breathe. So tell us a little bit about Breathe. I understand that it is a devotional by women for women.
It is. So each devotional for 2014 is written by a different person. And my devotional piece is titled Saying Goodbye, Anticipating Hello, where I talk about an experience that I had with going to the funeral of a friend of mine and the thoughts that came out of that.
Wow, that's interesting. Sometimes life has a way of getting our attention just in the process of being and doing. We pick up so many different skills and so many circuitous. we were rehearsing that word, and every time I sort of put an extra gratuitous in there. But that's great. I love that word. I love that word because they say the straightest distance to any place is a straight line, but sometimes you need to go a route that will take you a certain way so you can pick up the skills and the information and the knowledge that you need in order to make the journey. Now, I am looking at your tagline, and it says optimal living. What is optimal living? What does that mean?
I think it's the best life that you can live. Utilizing all of your potential, all of your skills, and all of your gifts. I like to say that when I die, I want to die empty. I want to have given everything that God gave me to everyone around me so that there is nothing left that I knew that someone else does not know.
Wow, that is awesome. So how do we move into this place of optimal living? How do we get there? Tell us a little bit about that.
But to be able to live optimally, you have to know where you're going. If you're going on a journey, if you're taking a flight from one place to another, when you jump onto the airplane, the pilot has a flight plan. He doesn't just jump into the plane and say, okay, let's go, and go anywhere. He follows a specific route. That's just the same with our lives. We need to have a plan for our lives.
Wow.
And the plan depends on your skill set. So you have to know, what are the skills that I possess? What are the things that really make me go? What would I do if no one paid me for it? And I would keep on doing it. So as you know these things, then you make a plan, and you always keep the outcome in mind. What do I want to achieve? What do I see in my child that I think he needs to achieve or she needs to achieve? And when you have the outcome in mind and you have your values all set up, you can actually create a vision that's going to help you walk your road of purpose.
Now, I've heard the word, you said vision. I've heard the word vision boards mentioned throughout. Is a vision board something that you would recommend where a person would actually make a board of the things they want to accomplish in their lives?
It is something that I recommend. You know, we learn differently. We take in everything, all of our information comes in through our senses. And some of us are more highly visual than others. Some of us are more highly auditory, and some are more tactile or kinesthetic. The brain likes to think in images. So when we use visuals and we use a board with pictures of what we want to accomplish and keep it where we can see it often, every morning when you get up, every night before you go to bed, it keeps the mind going, and the subconscious mind is continually working on ways to achieve the images that it's seeing.
You said the subconscious mind. So there's a conscious and there's a subconscious mind. And are we playing to both of them, or do we use the mind versus the subconscious mind, or do we bring them together? Or are we just playing a role and the mind is really in control?
Well, the way I look at it and what I believe from reading the Bible, because I am a Bible-believing Christian, I think that we have a mind. We are not the mind. We have a mind, and when you think something through, you're using your conscious mind because you're deliberately doing it. You're using your will and your reasoning. But then there is a part of our mind where our beliefs go, and they actually control us more than the conscious thoughts that we have. Some people call it the unconscious mind. I call it the subconscious mind because it actually works below the level of consciousness. Something like a virus working on a computer that's running the computer, but you don't really know why the computer is doing what it's doing. So the subconscious mind actually controls us. And the things that get in there get in because someone with authority, someone we looked up to, may have told us certain things and they become our beliefs. We accept them. Or if you think about something long enough, after a while it becomes a part of your thinking system. So the subconscious mind actually is stronger than the conscious mind in terms of our actions and what we believe.
Wow. So I'm going to be paying attention more to my subconscious mind, and hopefully I'll become a student of it, and I'll move into that place of optimal living. And perhaps I'll move there and stay there for the rest of my life here on earth. It sounds like a great place to be. But in thinking about optimal living, I was thinking, who is the best candidate for this? I noticed you mentioned women, but would this also be good for men? And you also mentioned children. Who would be the best candidate for your teaching?
Well, I always begin where I am. And I am a woman.
No kidding.
I believe that the problems that I have, the challenges that I had getting to where I am, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had it. And there must be other people. So I believe that women would identify with me easier and more than men. But of course, the principles for living optimal lives are general, and men can follow them and also achieve. And as a woman, I think like a woman, so I can appeal to women easier. They say that we are interactive, emotional beings, whereas men are so logical in their thinking, that I believe that I would appeal to them a lot easier. Most times, women are the ones who have the responsibility of nurturing their children. And so, by extension, I work with children through the mothers or through their caregivers. Most caregivers are women. That does not mean that there aren't men who are caregivers. There's some very good male caregivers. I just chose my population because I come out of it, and it comes out of my experience.
Wow, I know that women are blessed by your work. I think of my own mother who had a vision for her children, and in Arkansas in the 50s, my mother had a vision that we would go to a private school, which was literally unheard of. So my sister and I had an opportunity to go, and my mother worked very hard to send us, but she saw a need. So she was sort of like ahead of her time, and being, I guess, burdened with dyslexia, it was a very challenging road for me. But she continued to give me encouragement. And when I graduated from high school, I was told I wasn't college material, and that was pretty disheartening. And then one day, my subconscious led me to a young girl who said to me, "Gloria, you are so smart." And yeah, I could do, well, at that time I could do the Rubik's Cube or whenever that came out, and I had a good math score, but somehow I didn't feel smart. And so I enrolled in college, and I made it through college, and then I have like 2 or 3 master's degrees, and I have a doctorate. I'm saying they messed me up. Now I'm overeducated for everything, but I'm hoping that I'll still be able to live this optimal life that you're talking about. I noticed that in the coming here this morning, you told me that you're writing a new book. What inspired you to write this new book?
Well, along my journey as a speech and language pathologist, I met a lot of children who had difficulties with literacy, reading, and spelling, and grammar. And I started doing some research because I noticed that there were some children who went from kindergarten all the way up to the 12th grade, and they continued to receive speech and language therapy. That did not make sense to me. So I started to look for alternative ways of treating them or of helping them. And then, in addition to that, when my daughter got into the 2nd grade, her teacher called me to a meeting with herself and the principal, wanting to retain her in the 2nd grade.
Wow.
When I asked why, I was told, well, she reads pictures very nicely, but she just doesn't read words well. I asked the teacher, what would you be doing differently next year if she remained with you? And she told me, well, you know, we have one way of teaching, and I'll just be going over. I think she needs more drill and practice. And I didn't buy that. So I started looking some more. And as I looked, I learned more. And I learned that people learn differently. Brains are wired differently. Each brain is actually unique in the way it's wired, but there are certain similarities and there are certain ways that people learn that we can target and we can help them by teaching them differently. And that's how I came on this journey.
Wow, that's interesting. I was reading a note where in one of your profiles, and it says, it is easier to build a strong child than it is to repair a broken adult. I love that quote. I love that quote. How did you come to that quote? What does it mean to you?
That's actually a quote from Frederick Douglass.
Frederick Douglass.
Yes. And it struck a note within me. It resonated with me because it epitomizes the work that I do with children. I work to build children so that when they become adults, we don't have to fix them. You know, we are told it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
I've heard that one.
So it's something similar to that. It's not impossible to fix adults. It can be done. It just takes more effort and a longer time.
And the willingness of the adult to realize they're broken.
Always
wow.
that. Always that.
You know, because we're adults, we know it all. We got it all figured out. And we're not going to, certainly we're not going to go to therapy. I'm not crazy. I'm not going to therapy. So I think that what you do is really important, because I think that if you can help a child, and if the children are helped, the world is helped. And it's not uncommon for a child to teach an important lesson to a parent.
That's right.
I see that all the time. But in your book now, who is this book for exactly?
Well, the book is for children, but in a roundabout way, I target the parent, the moms. So the book is written so that the mom is the supervisor of the child. I consult with parents and teach them how to put in place the programs that I teach. And that way, they are actually advocating for their child at the child's school, and they're also teaching the child at home, helping that child to develop the foundational skills that are necessary for academic success. There are some skills that are necessary, and although each child is unique, at the same time, every child is essentially the same because we learn through our senses.
Could you tell us a little bit about how the parent would, the mother would prepare herself to help her children? How would she go about it? Would it be taking classes, or tell us a little bit about that?
Well, you know, there's a saying that says if you can't give someone from an empty cup. So if your cup is empty, you have nothing to offer. It first takes some introspection on the mother's side. She needs to think about her own self, where she is, and become conscious. You know, conscious living is essential for success. So to prepare herself to help her child, all she really needs to know is to know herself. How do I learn? How do I learn best? Do I like pictures or do I like to hear things? If I got a new, maybe a new television, would I just, or new something to assemble, would I just jump in and start putting the pieces together? Or would I take out the instructional manual or booklet and look at the pictures and use that? Or would I read or have someone read the directions to me? That tells us a little bit about how we learn, our preference for taking in information. She also needs to know, well, how do I think? Do I like things to be in order? You know, do I like to hear it? And I like to hear this first, then that, then that. That's an auditory sequential way of learning, and incidentally, that's the way that the educational system works. That's how teachers teach by default. Or the other way of thinking is the visual sequential. So you think about space and you think about the whole picture, the global picture, so that you get it when someone says something and they don't have to repeat themselves or go through the steps. So she needs to know a little bit about how she takes information in and how she thinks. Once she knows that about herself, then she's better able to help her child figure out the same things and then develop the senses in a way to take in information.
Who would train her? You would train her? You'd have training sessions or lessons, or would they fill out questionnaires? How would this learning, and how would you know if it has been effective or if they've in fact done what you've asked them to do? What kind of follow-up do you employ?
Well, that comes through consultation.
Oh, okay.
So they do have work to do, and on a weekly basis, I consult with them. And based on the work that they have done, if they have done it, then we will see the progress.
Those naughty adults.
That's right, because then they'll be able to answer the questions that I ask. If you haven't done the work, you won't have the answer.
Right, okay, all right. That makes absolute sense. So they have to prepare themselves, and you will critique them, and you can't fudge it. You have to either do it or not do it. And then do you give them a second chance, or do you give them a little spanking on the hand?
There are many chances. Life is all about many chances. You know, God gives us many chances, and we give others many chances.
So if you had to sum up the central theme of this book, what would be the central message in your book?
The central message in the book is that you have to look beyond academics when you're looking for success. A test score tells you nothing about the ability of a child or the future that awaits him. So,
wow, okay, that's good. I totally and absolutely believe that, and I know that our children have to work hard. And I noticed that you have a website, and you have, so tell us the name of your website.
Well, if someone wants to contact me or leave a comment or ask a question, they can go to my website. It's my name, www.florencecallender.com. And Florence is just like the city in Italy. Callender has 2 L's, and it's D-E-R.
Callender. That's great. Now, I'm committed to also putting your information on our website, which is PONE, P-O-N-E, Inspirations, INSPIRATIONS.com. So people will have many ways of getting in touch with you. Now, do you take donations, or is this, how will you receive your payment for this, or how do you?
Well, payment comes through the website or through credit cards. They can call me on the phone. I do Skype. I do Google+. You know, I use the technology that's available to us right now.
I'm excited about your being here. Again, we are at PONEinspirations.com. That's our main contributor. Our main work is done through there. But we want you to know that this has been an exciting evening. We want you to know that I just love your theme, retraining brains, transforming lives. So if we can retrain the brain of one child, we not only affect that one child, but that child will get married and have children,
Yes.
and their children will have children, and it will
That's
affect
right.
the whole world. So we'll not only be transforming one life, but many lives.
Yes.
And I agree with you completely that it is much, much easier to build a strong child rather than repairing a broken adult. I like all of your themes and all of your sayings because they make so much common sense. And I've heard it said that the most uncommon thing that you can find is common sense.
I've heard that too.
You've heard that too?
Yes.
So I continue to look to what you're doing. I applaud you. Here at Women's TV, we're looking at a few good women doing great things in the world, in the community, in their families. We didn't get a chance to talk about your family and how you balance all of this, but we'll get to that next time.
Okay.
So keep on keeping on. And I want you to know that we love you and we love your work, and we are totally and absolutely inspired by what you are doing. So I'm going to give you, along with all of the women in TV land, a big
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
thank
It's
you.
been a privilege.
Gloria, please look at the cancer.
Thank you. You see my mind.
the Baron.